everyone, welcome back. This week I'll be talking about Abraham and Isaac. Abraham and Sarah dearly loved their new baby boy. They cuddled him and fed him, they played with him and giggled when he wrapped his little hands around one of their fingers. They laughed when he smiled for the first time, and they were absolutely thrilled when he spoke his first word. Somehow, before they even knew what had happened, he was walking and talking, and he had grown to be a young man. Isaac was the joy of their lives. Abraham spent a lot of time with Isaac, teaching him to love and obey God. He told Isaac the story about how God had talked with him and told him to count the stars. He made sure that Isaac knew he was a special child and that he had been promised by God. As Isaac grew, he learned to worship God just as his father Abraham did. One day, God spoke to Abraham. "Abraham!" "I am here," Abraham replied. "Take your son Isaac, whom you love so much, and go into the land of Moriah and offer him there as an offering. I will tell you which mountain when you get there," God commanded. Abraham loved Isaac more than anything else in the whole wide world and would never do anything to hurt his son, but he knew he had to obey the voice of God. Early in the morning, Abraham got up and put a saddle on his donkey. He called for Isaac and two of his young servants. They all went together to chop wood for the sacrifice. Then they started on their journey towards the place God had told Abraham to go. For 3 days they travelled, eating food they had taken with them and sleeping on the ground. On the third day, Abraham looked into the distance and saw the place where God was leading him. "You stay here with the donkey, whilst I take Isaac with me to go and worship God," Abraham said to his servants. Abraham picked up the wood and gave it to Isaac to carry. Then he picked up his torch in one hand and his knife in the other, and they started towards the mountain together. Whilst they were walking, Isaac began to wonder about some things. Finally, he just had to ask, "Hey Dad, I have the wood and you have the fire, but we didn't bring an animal. Don't we need a lamb for the sacrifice?" Abraham, fully believing that God had everything under control, spoke quietly. "Yes, Isaac, God will provide himself a lamb for the burnt offering." When they finally arrived at the exact place God had told him of, Abraham started looking for large rocks to build the altar. Carefully, he placed one rock on top of another until the job was done. After that, he placed the wood, which Isaac had carried, on top of the altar. Then, after looking around one last time, he had to do the very hardest thing he had ever done in his whole life. He thought he would have to sacrifice his own son. Suddenly, he heard God say, "Stop, I have provided a ram for you instead." God was so pleased with Abraham because he had listened to God's call and had done what he had asked. "Because you have listened to me and done as I have asked you, you have shown how much you love me, and your family will be blessed." Abraham and Isaac walked down the mountain together, rejoicing that the Lord had provided the ram and made another great promise to them. They met the servants at the bottom of the mountain, and they all started on their 3-day journey back home. Time for a prayer. Dear God, thank you for the story of Abraham being tested by God. Increase our faith that we can trust you in difficult times. Help us to follow you, knowing that you know what is best for us. We pray for all those in our world making difficult choices, those in the government, those working in schools, churches, shops and hospitals. Give them wisdom and they will make decisions. Amen. Abraham trusted in God and had faith even though he didn't understand why he was being asked to do it. He listened and did as God had asked.